Can you fund a property from an auction? It's really important when we talk about auctions is to realize there are different types of auctions. There's private auctions and there's public auctions, okay? So a private auction and a public auction. These get easily confused. A public auction is going to be like a foreclosure sale. The public can come, they can make an offer. There's a whole process that goes into that. A private auction is where it's owned by a corporation or an entity. The private auctions you're going to get into like auctions.com, Hudson and Marshall, and other auction sites. These auction sites actually auction properties that are owned by banks. If a bank has a whole bunch of properties that they need to liquidate and actually turn into cash, they hire a place like auction.com, Hudson and Marshall, and they actually sell those properties in a few weeks and liquidate that money and take what they can get and move on because they've got to have cash reserves. Whereas in a public auction, it's typically the foreclosure sale. When it comes down to this, we just need a few things. We need to get into the property. We need full title insurance. We're going to need full hazard insurance, and we're going to need a little bit of time to get the loan docs together and get the loan docs closed. In most cases, your private auctions are going to allow for that. They're going to allow for you to have title insurance, hazard insurance. You'll have some time on the property. Now, when it comes to the public auctions, that's not the case because in the public auction, it is the ability of transferring ownership of the home from the owner to the bank, where the bank actually now owns the home or someone else actually buys the property and the bank then gets paid their money. Well, you can't just go inside this house. This house is owned by them until the sale takes place. They do not have to let you in the property. And as a matter of fact, after the sale takes place, they still don't have to let you in the property. You have to go through an eviction to get this guy out of the house. So you're really buying a property you've never seen the inside and you don't know about. The second thing that happens a lot with public auctions is it's typically you have to have cash the next day. So when they say cash, they mean cash out of your pocket the next day, not where you're going to get a loan. And with these, they typically don't provide title insurance. We're not able to get any title insurance. As a matter of fact, I've seen a lot of people buy at a public auction thinking that they're buying the first loan and they're actually buying a second loan, which means all the money they put in is wasted because the first mortgage can foreclose them and they can get nothing out of it. So unless you're really experienced, I would stay away from the public auctions. Unless you're really experienced because you're dealing with a lot of risks with a property, you're dealing with a lot of risk by not getting your title insurance or your hazard insurance, you're dealing with a lot of risk by having to have the cash the next day, you're dealing with a lot of risk by having to have that cashier's check for $5,000 to $10,000 you're going to have to hand them when you're at the public sale. I mean, early on, I thought that these public auctions would be like some formal process, and sometimes they are, but in a lot of states, they just go to a public meeting house and they flip a trash can over and the attorney conducts the sale and says, this is the sale for 123 Main Street. I've even had one of these public auctions that I've been part of that was actually outside on the sidewalk is where it actually took place. I don't recommend these for those reasons. As far as when it comes to funding, as long as we have the title insurance, the hazard insurance, we can get inside the property, we have 15 business days, and we're able to get our loan docs and those things put together, then we can fund on the deal. As a matter of speaking, typically that doesn't work for public auctions, and it does work for most private auctions.